Chapter 1. The Brush of Destiny. The berries were ripe, dark, swollen, glistening with morning dew, and Ella May Turner plucked them with the kind of dreamy care one might use when gathering jewels for a crown. Sunlight filtered through the tall pines like thin shafts of honey, warm against her sleeves as she worked. The wicker basket on her arm was hardly half full, but she already pictured the 2 blackberry pies cooling on their window ledge. Pies for the 25th anniversary of Grayson Hollow becoming a town. Pies everyone expected of her. Ella Turner always brought pies, but this year she hoped someone special might taste one. Flint Derringer. Just thinking his name made her smile, though she tried hard not to. She told herself she was being foolish. Flint didn't belong to anyone but the mountains and streams he disappeared into for weeks on end. Still, maybe tonight he'd show up to the bonfire and the fiddling and the silver lanterns strung across the square. Maybe he'd see her in her cornflower blue dress. Maybe he'd ask her father for permission to court her. Maybe tonight everything will change. She pulled another clump of berries, humming to herself, letting the tune tumble gently through the quiet woods. It was peaceful here, sweeter than any song. Even the birds held their breaths between notes, as if admiring her hopes. Ella lifted her basket, checking the weight, almost enough for 2 pies. She'd promised her father she would return before noon. He hated when she wandered too far alone, but the berries were thickest near the deeper woods, and she'd been so lost in thoughts she hadn't noticed she'd drifted farther than she intended. A soft breeze brushed her cheek. Then, snuffle. Snort. Ella froze. Her heartbeat thudded in her ears. She turned slowly, trying to see beyond the fern-covered slope behind her. A rustling. A low huff. Another. Bears. She knew that sound. Every child in Grayson Hollow did. Black bears wandered these woods often enough, mostly shy and uninterested in people. But a mother with cubs? Ella's throat tightened. She couldn't see them, only hear them. Dangerously close. She backed up a step. A twig snapped under her boot. The forest went abruptly still. Then came the deep, warning growl. Ella dropped her basket, and she ran. Chapter 2. Flight into Darkness. Branches whipped against her arms as she fled, heart hammering so loud she swore it echoed through the trees. She didn't dare look back. She couldn't. Every instinct screamed run. The ground sloped downward and she followed its pull, leaping over roots, dodging branches. Her breath came in ragged gasps. She imagined claws thundering behind her, teeth snapping, hot breath at her heels. A rock rolled under her boot. She stumbled, caught herself, kept running. Her braids slapped against her back, unraveling in the wind of her speed. She didn't know where she was anymore. The familiar paths had vanished behind a blur of panic. "Please," she whispered to no one, to the trees, to the God who watched over fools and frightened girls. A shadow passed to her left, just the sway of a branch, but she shrieked and ran harder, lungs burning. Then her foot snagged on a twisted root, half buried under leaves. She pitched forward with a cry. The world flipped. Sky, earth, sky again. Her body tumbling down a steep embankment she hadn't even seen. She crashed through brush, rolled over stones, then... Splash! Cold water swallowed her lower half as she slammed to a stop at the base of the hill, half in a creek, half on its muddy bank. A bright flash burst behind her eyelids, and Ella knew nothing more. Chapter 3. Firelight and a Stranger. The first thing she heard was the crackling, soft, steady, almost comforting. Then the scent of smoke, pine smoke, and something warm beneath her head. Her eyes fluttered open. Above her, stars glittered through the break in the trees, silver-white and distant, as if part of a world she no longer quite belonged to. Ella blinked, confusion swirling. A band of pain tightened around her skull. She reached up and flinched. Cloth. A wrap. Her head was bandaged. Where was she? The fire's glow licked the surrounding pines, casting long shadows. The creek still murmured nearby, a gentle ribbon of sound. She was lying on a bed of soft pine boughs, layered thick as a mattress. She tried to sit up. Agony bolted through her ankle and skull. She gasped and collapsed back, dizzy. Father. Mother. Oh, heavens, the pies. The celebration. They would be frantic by now, searching for her. The dance would have begun. Lanterns lit. Fiddles singing. She was supposed to be there. Flint might have come tonight. She'd wanted to see him in the lantern light. Maybe ask if he'd missed her while he'd been away hunting. Foolish dreams, maybe, but still. A sound across the fire snapped her back to the present. Not a bear, not an animal at all. A shape, a figure, sitting in the shadows beyond the fire, watching her. Ella's breath hitched. The form rose slowly, like smoke unfolding into a man's outline. He stepped into the thin edge of firelight. A man, tall, lean, wearing a long-sleeved shirt and buckskin pants. A feather hung loosely from his hair. His face was mostly hidden by a dark cloth tied around the lower half. A Cherokee. She swallowed. Her pulse quickened. He spoke first, voice low and calm. "Do not move. Your ankle is broken." His English was smooth, accented but clear. Ella stared, trembling. You saved me?" He nodded once. "You fell. I found you by the water." Her mind whirled. He was no stranger to these woods, that much she knew. Their region had long been bordered by Cherokee land, though most of the tribe had been pushed westward or deeper into the mountains. But some still remained, some who tried not to cross paths with white settlers unless necessary. Yet here one sat, only feet away, studying her with dark, quiet eyes above that cloth mask. What's your name?" she whispered. He hesitated. "Chilo." The name suited him, soft but strong, like river stones worn smooth by time. "I'm Ella," she managed, voice barely steady. "I know." He lifted a hand, gentle as drifting ash. "You spoke it in your sleep." Heat rushed to her cheeks. Had she spoken more? Had she murmured about Flint? About pies? About the bears? Her ankle throbbed hard enough to drown the embarrassment. How long have I been here?" "One night," he said. "You woke earlier but did not stay awake. You needed rest." A night. A full night gone. Her family must be sick with worry. Flint, too, if he'd come home in time for the festival. Chilo knelt at her side and offered her a small cup made of carved wood. "Drink willow bark tea for the pain." She hesitated, but he waited patiently. No urgency, no threat in his posture. Just a tired kind of concern. Ella drank. It was bitter, but warmth spread through her aching bones. She fell asleep before she could finish asking him anything more. Chapter 4. The Masked Healer. 2 days passed in a rhythm of pain, healing, and quiet conversation. Chilo moved like a shadow, silent, careful, almost reverent in how he tended her. He brought berries and roasted rabbit, fresh water from the creek, herbs for her swelling. When she tried to sit up, he gently pressed her shoulder back into the pine bed. "You are not ready," he said more than once. Ella learned pieces of him between swallows of tea and moments of dazed rest. He was Cherokee, yes, but not of a tribe that roamed much now. His people had been scattered, many taken westward years ago. He spoke of relatives lost to disease and displacement, of his childhood in the Smoky Mountains, learning to track elk with his uncle. But he said almost nothing of the mask covering his lower face. Not until the second night, when fireflies drifted between the trees and the moon sank behind a ridge. Ella, drifting between wake and sleep, whispered, Why do you hide your face?" Silence stretched. The fire crackled. Then Chilo said, voice rawer than she'd ever heard it, "White men burned me." Her heart tightened. "They locked me in a jail," he continued. "Accused me of killings I did not do. A child had died near their settlement. They blamed the nearest Cherokee. They blamed me." Ella felt tears sting her eyes. "But you're kind, gentle. Anyone can see—" "Not anyone." His voice was bitter, but not toward her. "They said I was dangerous, that our people were all murderers, so they burned the place while I slept inside." Her hand trembled against the blanket. "How did you escape?" "An old man helped me. He cut the back wall open before the flames reached it fully." Chilo touched his mask lightly, fingers brushing the cloth. "But not before they marked me. I cannot show my face in white settlements. I frighten even some of my own people." Ella whispered, "You don't frighten me." His eyes lifted to hers, dark, deep, surprised. She held his gaze, meaning every word. His voice softened. "Sleep now, Ella." But she could not sleep. Her thoughts tangled with pain and the strange comfort of this man who had rescued her without obligation. The woods felt different in his presence, less threatening, more alive. She found herself studying the slope of his shoulders, the calm intelligence in his eyes, the way he listened fully whenever she spoke, and she found herself wondering, dangerously, how such a gentle soul could have been cast as a villain. Chapter 5. The Third Morning. By the third day, Ella managed to sit upright without fainting, though her ankle throbbed each time she shifted. Chilo brought her the last of the rabbit, wrapped in leaves, and sat a respectful distance away while she ate. "You will heal," he said quietly. "Not quickly, but well." "My father will think I'm dead," Ella murmured. "I will take you back when you can ride," he assured her. She looked at him then, really looked, at the line of his jaw above the mask, at the strength in his hands, at the kindness he tried to hide beneath quiet discipline. "Chilo," she hesitated. "Thank you." He inclined his head but didn't smile. He rarely smiled. Yet she wished he would. She had just reached for her cup of water when the forest exploded. A shout, raw, furious, split the air. Boots pounded onto the clearing. A tall figure barreled through the brush, rifle raised, eyes blazing. "Get away from her!" Ella gasped. Flint. Chapter 6. Fury in the Pines. Flint Derringer looked wild, hair uncombed, chest heaving, clothes filthy from days of searching. He saw her sitting upright, saw Chilo only a few steps away, and rage contorted his features. "You filthy savage," Flint roared. "You've kept her here, tied her up, done God knows what." "I have not touched her in dishonor," Chilo said evenly, rising to his feet. "She was hurt. I cared for her." "Liar," Flint charged. "Stop," Ella cried, arms outstretched, but the men collided before she could draw another breath. Their bodies crashed to the forest floor in a tangle of fists and fury. Flint swung wildly, fueled by terror and jealousy, but Chilo moved with controlled power, blocking, pivoting, matching him, strike for strike. Ella screamed as Flint's fist cracked against Chilo's jaw. Chilo staggered, then the cloth mask slipped. It fell to the ground. Ella's breath froze. Half of Chilo's face, his right side, was a landscape of deep, ridged scars, twisted, shiny, as if the fire had melted the flesh. The corner of his mouth pulled slightly downward where the skin had refused to heal evenly. The burns extended up to his cheekbone and partly to his neck. Ella's heart broke, not from horror, from compassion so fierce it hurt. Flint recoiled. "God Almighty, what are you?" Chilo flinched, not at the insult, but at the exposure. He grabbed the mask and pulled it quickly back over his face. Flint lunged again in disgust, and Chilo dodged, swept his legs out from under him, and pinned him hard. A rope appeared from Chilo's belt. Ella hadn't even seen it before this moment. In swift, practiced motions, he tied Flint's hands behind his back, then dragged him to a tree and secured him there. Flint cursed, thrashed, glared daggers at both of them. "You've bewitched her," he snarled. "Ella, don't trust him. He's dangerous. He's a savage and a liar and—" "Stop!" Ella snapped. Flint fell silent, shocked. Ella drew a shaky breath, ignoring the ache in her ribs. "Flint, he saved my life. Twice. I wouldn't be alive without him." "He kidnapped you." "No." Her voice trembled with intensity. "The bears chased me. I fell. Chilo rescued me." Flint's face hardened. "He wants you. Can't you see? That's why he kept you here." Ella felt the truth twist inside her. She looked at Chilo, at the quiet pain in his eyes, the shame of being seen, the way he now kept his face turned away from her. "I stayed," she said softly, "because I had no choice, but also because he was kind." Flint scoffed. "Kind? That thing?" "Flint!" she cried, heart cracking at the cruelty. Chilo stood rigid, fists clenched. "Let him speak," he murmured. "He is only saying what many believe." "But it isn't true," Ella insisted. She reached for Chilo's arm, and he flinched as though burned anew. Her breath caught. "Chilo." "Ella," he said quietly, "you should return with your people." Flint strained against his bindings. "Yes, come with me. I'll take you home. I'll marry you, Ella. I'll keep you safe." She froze. Flint's voice softened, desperate now. "I've always cared for you. You know that. Come home." Ella looked between the two men. Flint, strong, familiar, the boy she'd once dreamed of, the one she'd waited months to see. And Chilo, the masked healer, the man who listened, who moved with grace through the world, whose eyes held a depth Flint could never understand. Her pulse pounded. Her heart knew. Chapter 7. The Choice. Silence clung to the clearing like a damp veil. The fire popped softly. The creek whispered. A hawk cried somewhere in the distance. Ella lifted her chin. "Flint," she said gently, "I cared for you. I truly did. But you don't see me. Not really. And you don't see Chilo at all." He snarled. "He's a monster, Ella." "No." She crawled forward, ignoring the pain shooting up her injured leg until she was close to Chilo. Her hand brushed his. He stiffened, but didn't pull away. "Chilo is the bravest, gentlest man I've ever known." Flint shook his head violently. "You're out of your mind." Maybe she was. Maybe the blow to her head had loosened something, but her heart had never felt clearer. She looked up at Chilo, eyes shining. "Take me with you, please." Chilo's breath caught. "Ella, you would leave your home, your family?" "I'll send word I'm safe," she smiled softly. "But my future, it's with you. If you'll have me." His eyes softened, deepened. 1,000 emotions passed through them: surprise, uncertainty, fear, hope. At last he said, "I would have you, for as long as you choose to stay." Ella's heart soared. Flint spat into the dirt. "You're choosing him over me?" She nodded. "I am. You'll regret it." "Perhaps," she said gently. "But love is worth the risk." Flint snarled curses she'd never heard from him before. Her stomach twisted in sadness, but she didn't look away. Chilo untied Flint's legs so he could eventually stand, but he took Flint's horse, slapping its flank so it would return to town, proof Ella was alive. As Flint shouted after them, angry and heartbroken, Chilo lifted Ella into his arms and carried her to his small, sturdy pony. She wrapped her arms around his neck. "I'm ready," she whispered. And together they rode into the forest, the fire's smoke drifting behind them like a farewell. Chapter 8. Into the Horizon. The forest changed as they traveled, trees growing taller, air cooler, the scent of pine giving way to fir and spruce. Chilo held her gently, careful of her ankle. Every now and then he glanced back at her, eyes asking if she needed rest. She never did. For the first time in days, her heart felt steady. "Chilo," she murmured as stars bloomed overhead. "Yes? Do you believe in destiny?" He considered. "I believe the forest brings together those who listen." Ella smiled and leaned her head against his shoulder. "Then I'm glad I listened." His hand covered hers. "You are brave," he said softly, "and kind. I do not know why the forest chose to send you to me, but I will honor it, and you." Tears filled her eyes, not from sorrow, but from the overwhelming rightness of being beside him. As the moon rose higher, Chilo guided the pony across a stream toward a valley hidden deep within the mountains. A place untouched, peaceful, where he lived free of fear and hatred. Ella knew her life would be different now, harder in some ways, richer in others. She'd left behind the safety of Grayson Hollow for a future unknown, but she had chosen love, and as Chilo carried her toward the place he called home, she knew she was exactly where she was meant to be. Together, hand in hand, they disappeared into the whispering woods, and the forest welcomed them.